Welcome to A Few Thoughts About, the show where we dig into thinking and how it shapes our experience of life. Each week, I share insights and observations to get you thinking. No long lectures, just quick, thought-provoking episodes to shift perspectives so that you can make the change you want to make. Let's get into it. Hey, so before we get started, I want to invite you to try something out, right? One of the things that I get questioned about all the time is like, what is it actually like to work with a coach? Like, what does it feel like? How do you engage with it? And so I put this intro course together to give you a taste of that, to give you a taste of some of the things that I like to talk about and work on. And so this course, and it's totally free, completely free, is about thought, is about working with thought and what you can do to change how you feel right now. And a lot of this stuff is stuff that I talk about with my clients, especially in the beginning. This can be incredibly helpful if you're just looking for a free way to sort of reframe or change the way you think. Check this out. So you can go to scottpeniard.com/intro, INTRO, and you can get signed up. It's totally free, and it's a great way for you to just get a taste of what some of this stuff is like. So scottpeniard.com/intro. Go check it out. I'd love to have you try it out. That's it for now. Let's start the show. Well, hello there, and welcome to A Few Thoughts About a Fresh Start. Friends, we have made it. This episode is being released on January the 2nd, 2026. We are in a fresh new year. And if you are like a lot of people, you are thinking, hey, I've got a fresh start here. And that's what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk specifically about a fresh start, what it is, and how do we make the most of it? You know, many of you have likely heard me talk about resolutions before, and I'm not always the biggest fan of, waiting till New Year's and doing all of this sort of stuff. Like, change happens when we want change to happen. We don't need to wait for a date. All of that being said, we're at one of the biggest change motivation dates in the year. And so a lot of people look at a new year as a fresh start. Right? And so that's where I wanted to start, is define what I'm talking about. So a fresh start is a new attempt to make some sort of change, right? That could be a new run at an alcohol-free period. It could be change in your relationship. It could be changing the way you're thinking. It could be another really big one this time of year. Any of you gym goers know about it, is losing weight, right? Being healthier. We see all the time this time of year being something that people really look at their lives and want to make a change, and they make a run at it. Now, unfortunately, as we know, most resolutions peter out, they fizzle out. And I can't remember the exact date. I used to know it, but I think it was somewhere around the middle of February. For some reason, February 17th is in my head. But there was a study that was done to see when exactly most New Year's resolutions died. And I believe it was February 17th. And there's a whole bunch of reasons for this. But one of the things I want to talk about today is how we're framing this fresh start for ourselves, because that can have a huge impact. So we're trying to make this change, usually after we've had multiple attempts. I know from me, when it came to quitting drinking, there were so many day ones. I had just so many day ones. And one thing I always like to do when, I'd get to a certain point and I'd be like, all right, I'm going to quit. And then, I wouldn't get a day one. And then I'd think I'm going to quit again. And then I wouldn't get a day one. For lack of a better term, I would feel like these failures kind of built up. And then I would feel like I didn't know what to do with all of them. I felt like I was carrying them. And so I would have this idea, I'd quit trying to quit for a while and be like, all right. And then I would want to wipe the slate clean and start again. Right? And as many of you know, that's how, at the end of the day, this process works, right? This process of quitting drinking works by us trying over and over and over. And again, this applies to any change. This is not just an alcohol thing. One of the main characteristics of a fresh start is just that, right? Is fresh. That's why we use terms like wipe the slate clean. We get to we get to move beyond the sort of failed attempts at the past. And, normally we have our sights fixed on where we're going. We stop worrying about what happened behind us. And it's this opportunity to start again. And I think, that's one of the things that's really unique around this time of year. And it maybe doesn't sound like that big of a deal when you phrase it the way I'm about to, but like with the calendar being new, with there being a new year on the end of that date, there's something in us that really feels like, all right, this is a fresh start, right? Even though, today is the same as, 2 days ago, I guess this is coming out on the 2nd, even though there's not a lot of space between those 2 days, there is something about it that feels new. There's something about it that feels fresh. And so that's what we want to do, right? Starting again is how it works. Starting again is how anything gets done, right? I don't care what change you're trying to make. You're going to run into roadblocks and you're going to have to start again. We all have bumps. We all have ups and downs and twists and turns. So a fresh start is when we get to start again, moving toward the goal we want to hit, right? So just to get that very clear, it's when we get to start again, moving toward whatever goal it is we're trying to achieve. So I want to talk a little bit about how we kind of make the most out of it, right? Because there are some things we can do in framing this that can make a really, really big difference. And it's really, it's really 3 things, right? And if there are 3 things you do, if you're listening to this when it comes out, if there are 3 things you think about over this weekend in terms of whatever change you're trying to make, I recommend it be these 3 because it can make a massive difference, right? First, get clear on what you don't want to take forward. This one is always kind of interesting because, I work with a lot of alcohol clients one-on-one and people are like, well, I just want to leave alcohol behind. I get that, but you need to be more specific. Be really, really clear, right? The reason we like getting a fresh start is that we can leave stuff behind, but we don't get super clear on exactly what that is. That kind of leaves things out of focus. So I want you to spend a little bit of time in whatever change you're making. Again, I'm using alcohol here as the example, but like whatever change you're making, spend some time and, ask yourself, like, what is it that I'm leaving behind? Is it hangovers? Is it blacking out? Is it the money you're spending on alcohol? Is it just the way you feel every day? Is it the guilt and shame that you feel? Whatever that is, I want you to get really, really clear on it. Pinpoint it, write about it, talk about what it is, how it makes you feel, and what life is going to be like when you leave it behind. Getting clear on this sort of defines the problem, right? It puts it in a pen. It puts it in a frame where you can see it and you can look at it, right? So, list out what you don't want to take with you. Some of the things that I remember listing for myself were the shame and the anger and the frustration, right? Whatever it is, be very, very clear on what you don't want to take forward. So that is piece 1. Piece 2 is get clear on what you do want to bring with you, right? So we do the same. We make a list. But this time, we think about the experiences, the lessons, the successes that we've had on this journey so far, and we talk about bringing those forward, right? So like I know for me, one of the biggest lessons that I learned going through this entire process was that like I needed to have time for myself. I could not like go out with friends and be at bars and do that sort of stuff. I knew for a fact that was the case. It was, 3-ish weeks, let's call it 3 weeks when I was home and I didn't go out and I didn't travel for work and I needed that. Because I recognized through all of my various other attempts that was something that tripped me up. So what is it that you're going to bring with you? Maybe you've had success and you know what it feels like to wake up with a clear head on a Saturday morning. Maybe you know what it feels like to engage with the world unladen by the effects of alcohol. Whatever that is for you, get clear. So we're clear first on what we don't want to take forward. We're clear second on what we do want to bring with us. And then finally, I want you to define why this time is going to be different. This is an interesting one because I know for me, and this was going on for years, it was sort of mindless attempts over and over and over and over. It was kind of like I was trying the same thing over and over and over and over. And I wasn't like getting there. I wasn't like, I wasn't making it where I wanted to go. And I didn't spend a lot of time kind of defining like, all right, what is it that I'm doing different? What is different about this time? So take a few minutes and think about it. And, this might be something that you decide to bring into your process, right? What is it about this attempt that's different? Do you have a different attitude or motivation? Do you have different plans? Do you have a different support network, right? Get clear on why this fresh start is different will help you build even more motivation. And so it's those three things, right? Getting clear on what you don't want to take forward, getting clear on what you want to bring with you, and getting clear on why this is different. This can put a whole new frame on this change, and it can feel very, very, very different. Well, that is it for me. Tell me what you think. Head on over to scottpena.com/podcast. Send me an email. There's a place where you can send a note and tell me what your thoughts were. How did it feel? What do you think about this idea, this concept of a fresh start? And if you want to suggest a podcast episode, there's a place for you to do that too. You can always just send me a note and say hi. I love to get those too. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I'll be back next week with another episode.